Hi, we're here today with the alto saxophone and one of the most popular level 2 solos you can perform for the New York State School Music Association, or what we call NYSSMA. You may not be from New York State, maybe you have this on your state's festival and competition list. It's a very famous and popular level 2 solo in New York. I know this because I've taught it many times for all county auditions, for NYSSMA, for recitals and such. And also as a NYSSMA judge, I've listened to it countless times. This is Hunter's Chorus from Der Freischutz by Carl Marie von Weber. And here it is arranged by Sigurd Rascher. Today I'll be giving you a performance of this, followed by some comments and suggestions on how you might work on this to improve your performance. So, the first thing I suggest is that you go to the end of the third line and fix the wrong notes that are in the sheet music here. You'll see at the end of the third line, the 16ths are written D, F, F, G. In every other place in this piece, they are written D, E, F sharp, G. I think that's a misprint, and it just sounds wrong when you play the E, F, F, G there. It just doesn't sound right. So I would fix that. And then at the beginning of the 7th line, the second measure, you'll see that A is not slurred to the F sharp there. I would fix that as well. So I would write a slur in there. Every other place you have the A, and then the 2 F sharp 8th notes, the A is slurred to the first F sharp. It just seems to be consistent with the rest of the piece if you mark that in and play it that way. One word of caution: anytime you change articulations in a piece that you're being graded on, make sure you make that change in the judge's copy as well, so they know that you're making that change and you're not just making an articulation error, that you're fixing it to reflect what should be done in the rest of the piece and not actually making a mistake reading the articulation. Very important that you take care of that. All right, so taking care of those few boo-boos in the score would be a good thing. The next thing I'd like you to consider as you do this is every time this theme comes, bum bum, that you lift what I call lift and land. The pickup is subordinate. It's not that important compared to the second note, the main note, the note that it comes on, which also happens to be the tonic, the tone note of the piece. This piece is in D. That D is the tonic. It's also the first strong beat of the piece. I like to do what's called lift and land. The second note should be much, much stronger, and this first note we should bounce off of and land on the second. Okay? The 2 8th notes at the end of the first line, E, A, E, A, I like to land and lift the other way. So often I hear this performed and I hear students go, and it just sounds so not very artistic and not very pretty. If we lift off of that A a little bit and emphasize the E, it sounds a lot more musical, a lot prettier in my opinion. Something else you want to really consider in this piece is the dynamics. There aren't an awful lot written. You have the piano halfway through the 4th line, you have the crescendo toward the end, you have the crescendo with the mezzo forte at the end of the 4th line. I think that if you add some of your own, it's going to be a lot more interesting. When you listen to my performance just a few minutes ago, you'll hear that the opening theme I played about mezzo forte, and then when that theme came back 8 measures later, I played it softer. It's the exact same theme. Listeners tend to get bored when they hear the same thing played exactly the same way twice. You can't change notes. You can't change articulations. What can you change? Well, you can change the volume. You can change how loud you play it. And that creates some interest. Give it a listen. You can tell it's a little more interesting that way. And in that regard, in any solo you perform, try to add some of your own style to it, some of your own musical choices. You know, judging many times over the years, I've written on many adjudication sheets I've written, try to expand your dynamics, be more expressive. Never once have I ever written, wow, you were way too expressive, try narrowing your dynamic range. It's hard to do. It's hard to be overly expressive. Try some things and create something that's a little more musical, a little more interesting by changing dynamics up at times. In general, I think the style of this piece is light, bouncy, buoyant. You should be floating along. Never should your tongue be thick or heavy. Heard that lots of times. It's not awfully pretty. You want to think of just kind of bouncing along and floating along as you play those 16th notes, and as you ascend up those 16ths, maybe a little crescendo, a little extra boost of air as you go higher will help you make those notes clearer, and it also give it a sense of the line, the musical line arching and going somewhere. Yeah. So those would be the things I would really work on in this piece. I would work on being stylistically light, bouncy, fluid, adding some dynamics, making sure you emphasize the right notes, the bum bum, and then adding some dynamics. I hope this was helpful. Happy practicing, learn your scales, and go to it.